Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Tanvi Taneja, and with me is Reshma Tiwari with the Midday News. The headlines. Nationwide lockdown extended for another 2 weeks till 17th of May. All passenger train and flight services to remain suspended. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar says practically half of the country to become fully operational from 4th of May. Migrant labourers and students from different states start reaching their hometowns. President Ramnath Kovind praises Prime Minister Modi for taking timely and effective steps to deal with COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Narendra Modi discusses issues related to COVID-19 pandemic with his Thailand counterpart Prayut Chan-o-cha. And second installment of 500 rupees being transferred into the accounts of women beneficiaries under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. The government has extended the nationwide lockdown for another 2 weeks after 4th of May. However, considerable relaxations will be allowed in lower risk districts marked as green and orange zones. Home Ministry issued new guidelines yesterday which will be applicable based on the risk profiling of the districts into red, green and orange zones. Districts with zero confirmed COVID-19 cases till date or districts with no confirmed case will fall under green zones. Districts shall be defined as red zones or hotspots taking into account the total number of active cases, doubling rate of confirmed cases, extent of testing and surveillance feedback. Districts which are neither defined as red or green shall be orange zones. The Health Ministry will share the list of red zones, orange zones and green zone districts with states and union territories on a weekly basis. States may consider inclusion of additional districts as red zones or orange zones depending on the extent of spread of COVID-19 infection. However, they must not lower the classification of any district that is included in the list of red zones and orange zones districts by the Health Ministry. Containment zones shall be demarcated within red and orange zones by states and union territories based on the Health Ministry guidelines. Intensive surveillance mechanism is to be established within the containment zones, and local authorities shall ensure 100% coverage of the Arogya Setu app among residents of the containment zones. In these containment zones where maximum precaution is required. We have a report.
Irrespective of the zone, a number of activities will remain prohibited throughout the country. Travel by air, rail, metro and interstate movement of road will remain banned. All schools, colleges and educational institutions will remain closed, but online and distance learning shall be permitted. Hospitality services, cinema halls, shopping malls, gyms, theatres, bars and auditoriums shall remain closed. Social, political, cultural, religious, entertainment and academic gatherings will be banned. Places of worship shall also remain closed and religious gatherings are strictly prohibited. Apart from these, in red zones, movement of individuals and vehicles will only be allowed for permitted activities. Taxis and cab aggregators, cycle rickshaws and auto rickshaws, barber shops, spas and salons will be banned in red zones. However, shops selling essential goods in markets and market complexes are permitted. Standalone shops, neighborhood shops and shops in residential complexes are permitted to remain open in urban areas without any distinction of essential and non-essential. All shops in rural areas except in malls are permitted to remain open. In orange zone, in addition to activities permitted in red zone, taxis and cab aggregators will be allowed with one driver and one passenger. Suparna Segya, AIR News, Delhi.
All domestic and international flight services will remain suspended in the country till further announcement. The government has stated that in order to contain the corona pandemic, the flight operations will remain suspended and any changes in this regard will be communicated well within time so that passengers can book their tickets whenever the services resume. Union Minister of Information and Broadcasting Prakash Javadekar has said that in the third phase of the lockdown, practically half of the country will become fully operational from May the 4th. Mr. Javadekar said lockdown has brought us success and the country has fared much better than the other countries in its response to contain the corona pandemic.
भारत ने इस क्राइसिस को ठीक मैनेज किया है, यह हमें समझना पड़ेगा। और ये इसलिए हुआ कि समय पे लॉकडाउन हुआ, लॉकडाउन का कड़ाई से पालन हुआ और अब ईजिंग आउट कर रहे, फेजिंग आउट कर रहे, और फेजिंग आउट में ग्रीन जोन में लगभग सारी दैनंदिन एक्टिविटीज जो है, रोजमर्रा की सारी एक्टिविटीज खुल गई है। सभी उद्योग और खासकर उद्योग ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में ही होते हैं, एकदम शहरों के बीचे बीच फैक्ट्रीज नहीं होती है, तो वो आसपास होती है। वो सारी फैक्ट्रीज भी डेडिकेटेड ट्रांसपोर्ट से चालू रहेगी, तो वो दूसरा मुद्दा है। कंस्ट्रक्शन एक्टिविटी शुरू कर सकते हैं, जहां वहां मजदूर, वैसे भी कंस्ट्रक्शन एक्टिविटी पर मजदूर वही रहते हैं।
Mr. Javadekar said opposition is only indulged in blame game and have no agenda or issues to discuss. He said they are blaming the government on those points on which they showed agreement earlier.
Migrant laborers and students from different states have started reaching their hometowns. The first lot of 1,200 stranded and migrant laborers who reached Hatia railway station from Telangana last night have safely reached their respective home districts. All migrant workers have been medically screened, inked with non-washable home quarantine stamp on their hands. After a warm welcome at their hometowns, most of them have been medically examined with thermal screens and provided with necessary food supply and ration stock for coming 2 weeks of extended lockdown till May 17th by the respective district administrations. Meanwhile, another train from Thiruvananthapuram Central Railway Station will depart tonight from Hatia Station in Ranchi to bring back another set of 1,200 migrant labourers. Our correspondent reports that Ranchi district administration is continuously taking stock of preparedness for receiving the first batch of students who have departed by special train from Kota in Rajasthan yesterday evening. Information about students present in train coaches has been disseminated to guardians for obtaining necessary passes to bring back their wards. One such train carrying 942 children will reach Ranchi today from Kota, while the other train shall depart tomorrow for its destination at Dhanbad district. As part of action plan to transport labourers in a phased manner, buses are being sent to neighbouring states of Bihar, West Bengal, Odisha, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh to bring almost 34,000 workers stranded in these states back to Jharkhand, while special trains would remain the medium to bring back stranded labourers from far-off distant states. A special train carrying stranded labourers from Jaipur has reached Danapur Patna station this afternoon. This train started journey at 10 p.m. last night. About 1,300 passengers are in the train. Most of the passengers are labourers and are coming from Nagpur district of Rajasthan. Nagaur district of Rajasthan, I beg your pardon. Additional security forces have been deployed at station in view of arrival of special train. The state government has made arrangement of buses to send migrant workers to their respective destinations. The state government has instructed to keep workers in block-level quarantine centres. Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has thanked the Union Government, Indian Railways and Rajasthan Government in extending support to bring back migrant workers and students.
5 special trains carrying migrant labourers from different states will leave from Kerala today. A report.
A special train from Thiruvananthapuram will leave for Hatia in Jharkhand today afternoon. Nearly 1,200 migrant labourers will be accommodated in the train following COVID protocols. Medical screening and online registration is ongoing. Another non-stop trains from Ernakulam to Bhubaneswar in Odisha, from Alua to Patna in Bihar, from Kozhikode to Ranchi in Jharkhand and from Tirur to Bihar carrying migrant labourers are also scheduled to leave by today evening. Meanwhile, this year's Thrissur Puram took place today without any celebrations and crowd amid lockdown. This is the first time in the history that the biggest cultural festival of Kerala that witnesses the largest crowd gathering in the state, Thrissur Puram, being confined to mere rituals performed by just 5 priests in the temple. Meanwhile, Kerala did not report any positive COVID-19 cases last day. Presently, 102 active cases of COVID-19 are there in Kerala. Mayush Shah for AR News from Thiruvananthapuram.
A large number of passengers gathered at the bus stands in Karnataka today after the announcement of relaxation. Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa has instructed Karnataka State Road Transport Corporation to charge one-way fare from the labourers. The corporation was charging two-way fare since morning. The government has appointed nodal officers to ensure orderly movement of passengers. Meanwhile, 9 new COVID-19 positive cases and 3 deaths were reported today. More from our correspondent.
Karnataka Education Minister Suresh Kumar has assured migrant workers that economic activities will begin soon in the state. He met and interacted with over 1,000 migrant workers camped in the housing cluster in Bengaluru today. Asking them not to panic, he said that government will safeguard their interest. The minister also directed the employers present during the interaction to pay all the wage dues and restart construction and other activities. He also stated that he will request the Chief Minister to announce an action plan to rehabilitate the workers from other states. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
In Andaman and Nicobar Islands, no positive case of COVID-19 has been reported in the last 6 days. Out of the total 33 positive cases, 17 patients have recovered. The islands have been categorized into containment and non-containment zones. North and Middle Andaman and Nicobar districts are now categorized as green zones. All positive cases are confined within South Andaman district and 4 containment zones have been created. Yesterday, 7 infected persons along with 20 other suspected persons of corona have been sent for their homes. 7 persons have been quarantined in a guest house in Betapur. Another 20 goes for home quarantine. A report.
The administration is committed to extending all possible relief to the islanders in accordance with the guidelines issued by MHA. Earlier, a special permit issued to the fishermen and now the validity of their expired fishing license up to 31st March have been extended to 30th June. Along with this, the validity of license issued to construction contractors are also extended. Fishing and MNREGA activities in Swaraj, Shahid, Rutland and Little Andaman located in South Andaman district have also started. Constructions of road in North and Middle Andaman district by NHIDCL have also taken up. Shipping Directorate invites detail of stranded persons to deport them to their respective places in and outside the island. Gaurav Patwal, AIR News, Port Blair.
Madhya Pradesh has become the first state in the country to provide midday meal ration. Additional Chief Secretary, Panchayat and Rural Development, Manoj Srivastav, informed that this information has been given in the review meeting conducted by the central government.
The central government has also appreciated the successful efforts and innovation in the implementation of midday meal scheme in Madhya Pradesh. To provide midday meal to school children in the corona outbreak, an amount of rupees 117 crore has been transferred online in the bank account of parents of 66,27,000 students of primary and secondary school by the state government. In addition, under door-to-door midday meal scheme, ration has also been provided to 56,87,000 children. Additional Chief Secretary, Panchayat and Rural Development, Manoj Srivastav, informed that the support of Anganwadi workers, Panchayat representatives and local teachers was taken in sending ration to the students at their home after the school closing in April. Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the government has announced a slew of measures to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Among those includes the one-time relief for registered construction workers and labourers, enabling them to procure the basic essential needs during the prevailing lockdown. More from our Srinagar correspondent.
In order to support labourers and construction workers during COVID-19 pandemic, Labour Department in Jammu and Kashmir has disbursed an amount of rupees 15.24 crores among more than 1.52 lakh labourers at the rate of rupees 1,000 per worker during the month of April. It is a one-time relief given to registered construction workers and labourers for procuring essential commodities in the lockdown period. The Labour Department has also reached out to interstate migrant labourer locations while ensuring that no one is left without ration, safe drinking water and other basic amenities. In addition, the department has dedicated 7 helplines established for migrant interstate workers and 2 helplines for labourers from J&K stranded in various parts of the country. This is Sunil Kohl for AIR News from Srinagar.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Nationwide lockdown extended for another 2 weeks till 17th May. All passenger train and flight services to remain suspended. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar says practically half of the country to become fully operational from 4th May. Migrant labourers and students from different states start reaching their hometowns. President Ramnath Kovind praises Prime Minister Modi for taking timely and effective steps to deal with COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Narendra Modi discusses issues related to COVID-19 pandemic with his Thailand counterpart Prayut Chan-o-cha. Second installment of 500 rupees being transferred into the accounts of women beneficiaries under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
President Ramnath Kovind has applauded Prime Minister Narendra Modi for taking timely and effective steps to deal with COVID-19 pandemic and ensuring that India takes a leading role in fighting the pandemic. In an interview to a news daily, Mr. Kovind said the way the country has effectively dealt with the pandemic under the leadership of Prime Minister and Chief Ministers, it can be seen as the India model. He said data shows that the India model has been successful. The President added that India has supplied medicines to over 100 countries in the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and live and let live. He stated that following the global COVID-19 crisis, the world will move from economic globalization to health globalization. He expressed confidence that India will emerge as a more self-reliant nation out of this challenge. He said the maturity shown by the leadership, administration and citizens is being praised across the world. Mr. Kovind stressed on the need for large and densely populated countries like India to take steps for population control. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today discussed issues related to COVID-19 pandemic with Prime Minister of Thailand, Prayut Chan-o-cha. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said, as neighbours with deep-rooted historical and cultural links, India and Thailand will work together to deal with the multifarious challenges posed by this present crisis. Production of hydroxychloroquine has been augmented from 12.2 crore tablets to 30 crore per month in the country. The chairman of the Empowered Group 3 said that 9 crore tablets have been supplied as against requirement of 2.5 crore. He said against a demand for 35 lakh combined RT-PCR testing kits, ICMR has ordered more than 21 lakh and close to 14 lakh kits have already been received. He said the centre has decided to handhold states in purchasing VTMs and RNA extraction kits. The chairman said the maximum demand for PPEs is projected at 2 crores and the government has placed orders for over 2.2 crores. He said from a production capacity of around 3,300 COVID-19 PPEs per day in March end, in 1 month the government has increased the capacity to 1.8 lakh PPEs per day and soon it will be above 2 lakhs per day. The centre has reconstituted the empowered groups for planning and ensuring implementation of COVID-19 activities. An order issued by the Home Ministry said the reconstitution was necessitated due to the appointment or transfer or superannuation of members of some of these empowered groups. The 11 empowered groups of officers were constituted on 29th of March for ensuring comprehensive and integrated response to COVID-19. These groups were set up under the Disaster Management Act.
Arogya Setu app is proving very helpful for citizens in fight against COVID-19. Tanusha from Dhanbad appeals to fellow citizens to download this app to prevent ourselves from this invisible enemy.
मेरा नाम तनुषा है। मैं पुणे से MBA कर रही हूँ। भारत सरकार ने आरोग्य सेतु ऐप को लॉन्च किया है। यह ऐप बेसिकली आज कोविड-19 के संक्रमण से लोगों को बचाने में मदद करेगा। यह आसपास में जितने लोग, यदि कोई लोग है जो कोरोना पॉजिटिव है, वो लोग के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन देने में हेल्प करेगा। इसलिए मैंने खुद भी अपने फोन पर डाउनलोड करके रखा है इस ऐप को। मेरी आपसे आवेदन है कि आप भी इस ऐप को डाउनलोड करें और इस्तेमाल करें। घर पे रहें, सुरक्षित रहें।
Senior physician at the RML hospital in Delhi, Dr. Desh Deepak, has said that the lockdown has resulted in checking the rate of growth of corona patients in India. He said lockdown is an effective tool to check the spread, adding that it gives time to health workers for preparation. Dr. Deepak also said it is important to cope with the stress and depression caused by the long period of lockdown.
तनाव को या स्ट्रेस को अपने डील करना बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है। अब ऑलरेडी हम 40 दिनों से लॉकडाउन में हैं, 2 हफ्ते और है, तो डेफिनेटली कुछ लोगों को इससे स्ट्रेस होगा और लॉकडाउन में रहना पड़ेगा। हम अपने काम पे नहीं जा पाएंगे। जो हम ये 2 हफ्ते का लॉकडाउन कर रहे हैं, ये हमारी भलाई के लिए है और इसके बाद अच्छा होगा।
The News Services Division of All India Radio, in its bilingual live phone-in program today, will bring you a special discussion program on COVID-19. This can be heard tonight on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:25 p.m. onwards. This program will also be available on our website newsonair.com and on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You can also follow us on the News on AIR app for updates. Dr. V.K. Paul, member Niti Aayog and chairman Empowered Group of Medical Emergency Management Plan, will participate in the discussion. Listeners can ask questions to the experts on toll-free telephone number 1800-115767. You can also ask questions on telephone number 011-2331-4444 and post queries on our Twitter handle @AIR News.
In an effort to guard against fake news being circulated on various platforms, we bring you our segment on fact-checking and myth-busters. The government has dismissed a WhatsApp message claiming that it is providing 4,000 rupees as scholarship for English medium students to study at home digitally. In a tweet, the Press Information Bureau termed the claim as fake. It clarified that there is no such scheme by the central government. The PIB has also rejected a social media message which claims that free masks are being distributed by the government under PM Mask Yojana. It said there is no such scheme and the link shared in the message is fake. Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR's constituent leading biology lab, Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, CCMB, in Hyderabad, is employing several tools and approaches in the country's fight against COVID-19. Speaking exclusively to AIR News, Director of the Premier Laboratory, Dr. Rakesh Mishra said, CCMB is doing next-generation sequencing and analysis to map out the whole genome sequence of the novel coronavirus.
We are doing testing of the COVID. We are one of the major laboratories in Telangana state who is doing testing. We have introduced a concept called pooling, and in fact we are the only center in the country that is pooling the sample, which means if the occurrence of the disease is less than 2%, less than 3%, then you can pool 5 samples in one pool. Doing 20 tests, you can know the result of 100. If all of them are negative, then it is by doing 20 tests, you save the 5 times the money and the time.
Union Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has praised the initiative of All India Radio to broadcast author Ruskin Bond reading some of his celebrated stories on air. In a tweet, the minister hoped that book lovers of all ages are encouraged to listen to Bonding over the radio. The mythological serial Shri Krishna will be broadcast on DD National from tomorrow at 9 p.m. In a tweet, Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar has asked people to watch the legend of the glory of Lord Krishna.
दर्शकों का पसंदीदा धारावाहिक श्री कृष्ण जल्द आ रहा है डीडी नेशनल, फ्री डिश और अन्य डीटीएच चैनल पर। सब्सक्राइबर्स अपना चैनल नंबर नोट करें। फ्री डिश 001, टाटा स्काई 114, एयरटेल 148, सन डायरेक्ट 302, वीडियोकॉन D2H 149, डिश टीवी 193 और डेन 138। आगामी आकर्षण धारावाहिक श्री कृष्ण।
The second installment of 500 rupees is being transferred directly into the accounts of women beneficiaries of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is being released by the centre. Under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, every women beneficiary has to be provided 3 installment of 500 rupees starting from last month. The second installment has been released to a large number of banks which will now credit the amount into the accounts of the beneficiaries. Around 20 crore women beneficiaries received the first installment for last month in its first week. Government has also announced a date plan for beneficiaries to visit the bank in order to dispense the money so that adequate precaution of social distancing can be ensured. Beneficiaries with account numbers ending with 0 and 1 are advised to visit the bank branch on 4th May. Accounts ending with 2 and 3 should visit bank on 5th May.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a detailed meeting on the power sector yesterday and took stock of the impact of COVID-19. He also discussed various long-term reforms for enhancing sustainability, resilience and efficiency of the sector. The discussions included measures regarding ease of doing business, propagation of renewables, flexibility in supply of coal, role of public-private partnerships, and boosting investment in the power sector. Mr. Modi emphasized the significance of the power sector in propelling the economy. In another meeting, Prime Minister deliberated on the issues and reforms required in the education sector, including the National Education Policy, NEP. Special emphasis was given on the use of technology in the education sector and enhancing learning by adapting to the use of technology such as online classes, education portal and class-wise broadcast on dedicated education channels. The daily goods train service being operated up and down by the Southern Railway between Chennai, Egmore and Nagercoil has evoked good response from the public. The special service being operated by the longer main line between Egmore and Trichy is being widely utilized by the Kaveri Delta public. The train has stops in Manargudi, Tanjavur and Trichy in the Delta region.
Karnataka Traffic Police Department has paid tribute to COVID warriors, the doctors and nurses serving COVID patients. We bring it to you.
ಸಾವಿರ ಸಾವಿರ ಚಪ್ಪಾಳಿ ನಾಡಿನ ಕೀರ್ತಿಯ ಬೆಳಗಿಸಿದ ನಿಮಗಿದು ಹೆಮ್ಮೆಯ ಚಪ್ಪಾಳಿ 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 ವೈದ್ಯರಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಚಪ್ಪಾಳಿ ಚಪ್ಪಾಳಿ ಚಪ್ಪಾಳಿ.
India has emerged as a nation in its fight against COVID-19. This has become possible due to the unwavering efforts of health and medical professionals, security personnel, sanitation workers, citizens, civic societies, and all the government departments of central and state governments working in unison. The government has once again expressed its gratitude to these COVID warriors.
सीमाएं नहीं हैं, पर युद्ध तो है। शत्रु नहीं समक्ष, पर प्रहरी तो है। दुश्मन है कि जो दिखता नहीं, पर इन आंखों से छिपता नहीं। एक अलग जज्बा है इनका, समय को रोक रखा है, काल को मोड़ रखा है। भूखे प्यासे कब से जागे, अपनों से दूर मन को बांधे। न धर्म की दीवारें हैं, न समाज के ताने हैं। लक्ष्य है, बस लक्ष्य है सेवा का, और ये रिश्ते अनजाने हैं। आंखें होती हैं नम, पर हौसले नहीं है कम। इनमें से कोई थकता नहीं, महसूस कर सकते हो बस। इनकी दास्तां कोई कहता नहीं। ये देश आपके निस्वार्थ सेवा भावना को नमन करता है।
And now, before we end the bulletin, here are the headlines once again. Nationwide lockdown extended for another 2 weeks till 17th of May. All passenger train and flight services to remain suspended. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar says practically half of the country to become fully operational from 4th of May. Migrant labourers and students from different states start reaching their hometowns. President Ramnath Kovind praises Prime Minister Modi for taking timely and effective steps to deal with COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Narendra Modi discusses issues related to COVID-19 pandemic with his Thailand counterpart Prayut Chan-o-cha. And second installment of 500 rupees being transferred into the accounts of women beneficiaries under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. And with that, we end the Midday News.